Mic check, mic check. Morning Masters Podcast, yours main, of course. Of course, me, I got a special guest, Miss Desteni.
Barnett.
How you doing? Oh, Barnett, I'm sorry. How you doing?
That's fine.
Typically, I let the guests introduce themselves. Mm-hmm. So I want you to kind of just give us your name. You gave us your phone name already. Give us your name, tell us what you do, and, tell us about yourself real quick.
Okay. So my name is Desteni Barnett. I'm originally from Athens, Georgia, for those of you who do not know.
Where's that?
Where UGA is. So, that's pretty
team.
much, yeah. I kind of explained it like that because no one, outside of that, no one will know where Athens is.
Go Dogs.
Yeah.
Got you.
Okay, yeah. So, I'm from Athens. I graduated from Payne College in 2016. So, that's how I ended up here in Augusta.
Okay.
I currently work for like a major retailer doing staffing and scheduling.
Okay. That was a great answer. I told you it's going to be a great interview already because I could tell you on point. What I do want to say real quick is also, I got my guy, Love You Jace, behind the camera. It's the first time he's really officially doing this. He's doing multiple things at one time. So he got his hat here just to have him in the scene because he can't be here right now. So he's behind the camera, just working things out. So
that's cool.
Yeah,
I was wondering what the hat was for.
Yeah, I know.
I like that.
Yep.
Okay.
So shout out to my boy.
Hat.
There we go. And he got a mic. You can say, okay, there you go. That's him laughing.
That's cool.
He tried to be quiet. That's him laughing. But yeah, so essentially, I wanted to ask you some question about just before we get into the meat and potatoes. So you went to Payne, right? What'd you major in?
Mass communications with emphasis in public relations.
But you don't work in that. You're not in that field right now.
No, I'm not.
What's the reason behind that? Like, why didn't you try to do that?
So I was just talking to somebody about this recently. Like, I don't know how many people out there actually did this, but I majored in something. And then once I graduated, I was like, I don't think I'm ready to actually start working in that field. So I kind of psyched myself out more than anything.
Right.
Like, I didn't even give myself the opportunity to get shut down. I was like so nervous. I was like, I'm not even going to apply for anything in that field. I applied for jobs that I felt most comfortable and safe in.
Well, I know you outside of this, so I can ask these kind of questions. But at Payne, you did do some kind of radio show,
right?
Like, you did tell me that. Yeah, you got a background in that, though, right?
I do.
So, like, tell me about that. Like, what was the show about? Like, tell me a little about that.
So it's the student center. It was like a couple of students from Payne, a couple of students from AU, some students from USC Aiken. And we basically came together once a week. Like, I think we did it on Saturday mornings. It was a while ago, so sorry. But we did it on Saturday mornings, and we talked about things that students would deal with. So we talked about sports, what else? Just current events, and then just topics, that students would be interested in.
So it all kind of relative to the students and student lifestyle.
Right,
much.
So it's called a student center.
Gotcha.
So, in the student center, conversation naturally just flows. So we kind of throw some hot topics out there and then just start talking about them. Well,
let me ask you this then, since you kind of got a background in that. Like, as far as all the shows y'all did, like, what was your favorite one? What's funny about it?
Because I thought I told you this before.
Well, I lie. Yeah, that's what we doing. That's kind of how this works.
Yeah,
I'm gonna allude to some things and then some things I kind of know.
Gotcha.
Thank you. Your shirt is pretty, by the way.
Great. Thank you. Cut it up this morning. So, yeah. I don't really... Let me see. My most favorite show.
Were y'all was good at doing this? Like, y'all had chemistry and stuff like that, too?
Yeah, it naturally flowed. Surprisingly, because we all came from, like, different backgrounds. We all had different personalities, but at the end of the day, and different, like, thoughts and opinions on things. So that was crazy, especially, like, some of the guys, they would... Of course, versus the girls. That's how it would always end up being most of the time.
Gotcha.
Like the females versus the males. Just how things, even at such a young age then, it's just like the chemistry was good. But the things that we would disagree on would be amazing. Like, yeah.
Well, I always say, like, when you podcasting and when you got a show going on, I mean, the word now is podcasting, but back then it probably was show. Right. Podcasting just came out. I want to say that I was the first person doing it, but it's not a big deal. But,
When did you start podcasting?
2016. Yeah.
Maybe.
I'm like that. Yeah, it's all good. No big deal. But I will say that for real. When I did start, everybody had their show or radio behind their name. And then when I started, you start seeing podcasts. I'm like, what changed in the last 5 months? Right. Just me. But what I will say is, in conversation, I do find that when you disagree with somebody, that make for better material sometimes, or rather, better content when you trying to put that out and have people listen and engage and stuff like that too. So a lot of times when I got Jace on, I would personally not agree with him for that reason.
Do you try to do it?
All the time, yeah. But I'm good at that. I can talk to somebody and like disagree with you and still win the argument, or like
So when you're trying to argue with somebody, are you purposely trying to still win? Like, do you honestly go into it? Because I think the thing that made it come more natural for us is because you would kind of like, because you're black, I'm black. Sometimes when you have conversation, you think that, oh well, he's gonna have the same view as I do.
Got you.
So I wasn't honestly looking to always win the conversation, but it would be like crazy how even with us being so much alike, our views on different things,
Gotcha.
was far.
No, I can understand that, and like in the beginning of the podcast, when I'm talking to somebody, naturally I'm trying to get you to get comfortable and just be free. So you got that down pat. So like my next question would be like, so we both black, right? So we both agree and don't agree on certain things, right?
I think we are. Yeah.
Yeah. So like. If I'm asking you black, you're a woman, I'm pretty sure you deal with this kind of stuff. How long you think it take to make spaghetti? if you had
Am I being punked?
No. Like for me, naturally, I think it takes about 45 minutes to an hour just to prepare it. Like what do you think?
Why do you think that making spaghetti takes so long?
I think it needs love. I think spaghetti need love, and you gotta make the meatballs. You gotta cut the stuff up. You gotta put the seasoning in. You gotta cook the sauce a certain way. You can't just fast cook it. You can't put it on high. It gotta be like on medium. So gotta slow cook. You gotta cook the noodles.
Well, to me, spaghetti is like a quick meal. So it's one of those lazy type meals. Like I see a lot of people post, so I feel like a lot of people kind of agree with me. Like
about the lazy part?
Yeah, because like a lot of men say like, oh, don't get like a spaghetti pasta type chick because it's a quick, easy meal. Unless like. She's like Italian and like actually making noodles and doing, like you said, meatballs and all of that. To me, it's basic. Little onion, bell pepper, ground beef, ragu,
Definitely
whatever
Prego.
sauce. Okay, so are you?
But no, I'm disagreeing with you. See how this working now? Like,
right, I do. I get it. But are you doing it on purpose?
Yes.
But why?
I just like doing that sometimes.
Yeah, that's just being a butthole.
Nah, but I think that me and you had plenty of conversation about like spaghetti and stuff like that. So I always wanted to get that on camera. I knew when I got you here, I knew that was one thing I had to ask you about the spaghetti.
You don't have to get that on camera.
Now that you are comfortable and stuff like that, we can definitely get into it. So I know earlier you said you work for a Fortune 500 company.
I do.
Okay, so naturally when I asked you about like why you're not doing what's in your degree, I think a lot of people like that. I'm the same way. I got a degree in criminal justice, but I never did nothing in it. A lot of times you start working for these companies, they paying you so much, it's like, well, I'm getting paid more than I would have got paid in my job anyway.
Right.
So I'm doing that. So naturally, that's fine. And for what you do, the reason why I kind of wanted you to on this podcast doing stuff like this, because on a day-to-day basis, you deal with all these kind of questions I'm gonna have every day. Like it's a normal day for you. Interviews, just the hiring process, how to get picked for a job, how to mess the job up. You know what I'm saying? Like all that stuff, management. These are all the things you deal with on a day-to-day basis. So the first thing I want to ask is, how much do you think COVID has affected the normalcy of this interview style, Fortune 500 or just any companies with getting workers and getting, I guess, people that just know what they do and want to work rather? Like, how do you think that affected that economy?
So when we're looking at it from a company standpoint, it has affected us tremendously in I would say a negative way. It is very difficult to fill some of the roles that we normally would not have an issue with. I know with my location in particular, we never struggled with getting people in there. That's one thing that we really pride ourselves on. Like, we say we're doing a hiring event, we have 160, that's the minimum of people that are going to show up. Right now, we're pretty much begging people to come in and want to work. It's really hard finding great help right now. A lot of the younger kids are pretty much dominating the workforce right now because they are the ones who are actually going out and applying and trying to get the jobs. When you look at it from a candidate standpoint, I feel like it's very positive because so many companies are hiring. It's the best time to just put yourself out there, get in for an interview. Companies that you probably would have never thought like, oh, I don't even qualify for this type of position. They're calling candidates left and right. So I feel like it's a great time to build upon that experience just with the interview.
So, and I work at the company you work at too. So a lot of stuff we have is in common. I think I seen it kind of before COVID though. Like I noticed that you said like the young kids dominate, but it's also very different now. It's like they'll come in and to me they don't look like they're ready to work. They're not like coming for work rather. I remember like I'm gonna say back in the day, it's gonna sound old, but like you would dress up for the job, or you would just wear presentable. I see them coming in basketball shorts now. You know, like flip flops. Mm-hmm. But how the world is going now, like that's what you got to pick from.
Right. So, and I feel like because the pickings are slim to none, the options are slim to none. It makes it easier for someone to come in dressed like that and still get the job with slides on, a do-rag, basketball shorts, sweatpants. No one takes it serious anymore. And because people are needing to fill those spots, no one is actually telling them like, hi, you don't present yourself like this in an interview, because people are not really looking to teach right now. They're kind of just looking to fill those spots, get those numbers, and meet the quota that they're trying to meet. So,
well, I was going to ask you that. I was going to ask you, like, do you think that companies, I mean, by now, they already got their standard, like, just pick whatever we pick, and we'll just filter through. I'm hearing that word, like, filter through. So, like, they want to hire, bring them in. If they don't work, okay, send them out, whatever. But I think that just places devalue on a company as far as your standards, whether it's customer service or whatever standards you have as a company. Like, do you, in your position, right? Let me ask you this. In your position, how do you deal with, like, mandating policies that you don't agree with?
I feel that as long as it doesn't really affect me or go against my morals or values, it's not my company. So at the end of the day, I kind of know what I signed up. Well, I know what I signed up for. Everything that, rolls out, I'm not going to agree with it. But it's a job at the end of the day. When it is my company, I will be able to set those policies and procedures and guidelines so to match the things that I would like. Right now, as long as it doesn't go against anything, like I said, my values or my morals or anything like that, I'm pretty fine with it. I just kind of pick and choose my battles.
This is a sidebar because you said something like, I know a lot of people now, like, everybody don't want to work. So everybody like, now I'm into my own business. I'm starting my own thing. I'm going to do my own thing. Like, take COVID out of it. Do you think that also is another thing that's hindering a lot of companies from hiring or getting good candidates, is the fact that people don't want to work for nobody?
Oh, let's see.
Because I see a lot of people like, and I'm asking this, we know a lot of the same people too, but I'm asking just on a grand spectrum of, like, I'll see people that got a salary job, maybe making 70, 80K, but they want to stop. They'll stop because of whatever's going on, and they'll go into business for themselves. Whether they're making the same amount of money, I don't know, but I've seen the number of people that's doing that is rising now. Normally, them jobs, like, people retire out of them jobs.
Right.
But now they're just dropping them. Like, I just for myself.
Right. So, a lot of it has to do with, I feel like, the generation that we're in, the time that we are in, social media. A lot of people are seeing people start off businesses, and they're not showing, like, all the work and the hard work they had to put into it. Of course, they're only posting the good things. Right. So when you're speaking to someone who's always had a dream of starting their own company, they're not looking at, oh, well, they took 2 years, like 10 years, they were still working for their, another employer and still doing their side hustle or whatever. They're just thinking like, oh, that's fast money. They did it. I can do it. Right. Which is a good thing, because I do feel like, entrepreneurship, ownership is something that everyone should strive towards. But yeah, I definitely think that social media has had a huge impact on that.
I think I had this conversation with somebody. It might have been Slim. I'm not sure. But I told him, I said, because I owned a company before when I was younger. And I feel like if I knew what I knew now, I would have succeeded with that company. Mm-hmm. And I feel like sometimes working for a company, and you start, like, seeing their policies or learning the do's and don'ts of what they should have, everybody got their own thing. Like, I wouldn't do that. The company's stupid. I wouldn't do that. So, like, you kind of learn a lot about whether it's managing or P&L statements or just reading just all kind of anything company driven. You kind of learn on, like, firsthand with them companies. And I think that when you decide to start your own, you kind of know what you do and what you don't want to do at that point. So I'm not saying I'm not for it, but I would definitely say, like, do your research first. Don't just jump in there. Right. You kind of bound to fail, because it's a lot of statistics that are not talked about. So when you first start a company, you're not going to make money in the first probably 2 years, they say. are you ready for that? I know I can't do that right now. Like, I'm not in a position to not make money for 2 years. I'm sorry. I just can't do it. But everybody's different. So I just wanted to know, like, I guess in your position, where you at now, just in that company, do you feel like it's gonna get better anytime soon, or do you feel like COVID has really like stopped us from getting like any kind of good candidates for a long time?
Ooh, for right now, I think it's something. I would say COVID has kind of, I wouldn't say stopped it, because you still kind of get some here and there. But COVID has made a delay on a lot of things. So I'm not sure how long the whole pandemic will last, because technically speaking, we're still in a pandemic. So I'm not sure how long the effects will have on our company. Yeah, I'm not too sure. But I definitely don't think it's something that'll be stopping soon, if that would answer your question. No. I give it another 1 to 2 years.
Well, aside from the other stuff, I want to ask some interview questions later on. I want to ask that, but I want to ask more about the business side of things. We still good on time, Juan? What we at, 19?
You're
doing a good job.
Can I switch with my seating just a little bit?
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
why not? You can do anything you want to do. This is great stuff. All right, make sure you're talking to the microphone though.
Gotcha.
Okay? Let me put it right there.
I watch the Breakfast Club.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right.
Speaking to the mic.
Yes. Let me ask you this though. Do you like, because you in a company, I want to ask more about like management, just the inside of the business, right?
Okay.
Do you think that on a scale of 1 to 10, where you rate morale at, as far as like the company succeeding and morale going hand in hand? Like, where do you?
10.
So you think that morale has to be high for the company to succeed?
I definitely do. When the morale is better, I've seen it at my current company. When the morale is good. Okay, let me take that back. Let me say this. It didn't always, right? It didn't always go hand in hand, because sometimes the morale can be good and business can still suck. However, I do think it's more pleasant when the morale is better, because people are more likely to show up to work, more likely to show up on time, more likely to give their all, versus when the morale is not bad, you're going to have a lot of call-outs, a lot of people not showing up on time, a lot of people, the turnover rate starts to increase. So things like that help. Maybe when you're looking at numbers and everything, it may not show too much of a difference, but morale, when you're thinking about your associates and what you want to gain from them, they're more likely to give more when the morale is better.
Well, let me ask you this, because you've been with the same company pre-COVID, and I would say post, but it's no post-COVID right now.
Right.
What has changed for you to you? And I'm not talking about, like, don't think about like individual people or nothing like that. I'm talking about this, like, on a grand scheme of things, other companies or similar stores like us. What has changed since, I guess, pre-COVID?
I would say I guess the emotions of people have changed a lot. You have some people who are more empathetic to what's going on. Mm-hmm. You have some people who are who constantly look at the numbers.
Write that word down, empathetic, please. I want to look that up later. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Was that wrong?
You used the right word. I like the word. I'm being dead serious. I like the word.
Oh, okay. I was like, darn, did I use the wrong word?
I wouldn't say that. I swear to God, I wouldn't do that.
It's like, okay. Well, yeah, you have some people who are more empathetic to what's going on. And that's just basically saying I could put myself in your shoes. So I know, if you have a family of, empathy is basically just empathy. If you have 3 kids and one of your kids have COVID, I know that it's going to be more difficult for you, because now you have to also take into consideration the other 2 kids as well as you. And then you have some people, and maybe I don't have kids, but I could put myself in your shoes and say, well, what can I do as a leader to make sure that he feels better? And then you have those leaders who will say, well, shoot, business still has to go on. So I think sometimes, honestly, it probably was always there, but COVID has brought more awareness, especially to me. I'm not sure about other people, but I feel like it's, do you see?
I think that when it first started, I think it was a lot of empathy there. I know what the word meant. I was just joking. I was trying to make for the thing, but it's like I think a lot of empathy there. And Destiny's funny, bro. Yeah, I like Destiny. She's funny. A lot of empathy there. But I think as time went on, it started to get frustrating for a lot of people. Now I'm talking about just all across the world, because I'm assuming that companies higher up are still wanting the same standards. Mm-hmm. So here you have COVID, you short-staffed, got people calling out. Okay, but this still look like crap. So fix it or you're getting fired. Right. So now the fire on that one person, then it goes down to the next person, it goes down. And I think that the more and more it go down, the morale is leaving also, because now you feel like person A, who might be the head in charge, like don't care about you. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And then I guess from there, you start feeling like this person don't care about you, because whether it's management, whether it's just people in the store, people might be checking on you. There's a lot of stuff that probably the way things used to go aren't going that way no more. So you only left with your thoughts, and you start to feel like, oh, I guess this person don't rock with me, or this person, just stuff like that. And I think that when you work in a place, most times, like when you're working somewhere, right, and you working 8 hours, 10 hours, typically y'all become very close, like a family, because you there more than you home. Right. So naturally, you just feel like, I don't know, you have different emotions with coworkers than you're gonna have outside of work. And I think that everybody I talk to, whether it's where I work at, whether it's other companies, they all go through the same thing right now. It's like they more upset that higher ups in companies, not people that work in the store, just people that make the rules, aren't being empathetic to the fact that this is going on, or they feel like business must go on still. Right.
I definitely I see it on both sides. So I could definitely see where some companies have basically supported as much as they possibly could. So whether if it was given like help or assistance during, or paid time off even, because a lot of companies aren't doing that. So paid time off, or just random bonuses that are coming down. I feel like that's a good thing, but I also could see myself in their shoes, especially I had to tell a lot of people this at my current place of employment. It's a pandemic. It dropped. So COVID came. No one knew what it was. No one really, it was just all of a sudden took over the entire world. What would you do? If it was your company, how would you handle it? So I also feel that we have to give people grace. So when you want someone to understand your situation and what you have gone on, you also have to put yourself in their shoes. Well, does my CEO, know what's going on? Does he know when this is going to end? Does he know how to prepare for a pandemic? Did he ever think that he would be living during a pandemic? He or she would be living during a pandemic? So all of those type of questions, I feel like we have to give each other grace. No one really knows what's going on. And by giving each other grace, I feel that the morale will continue to thrive.
I like that. That's a dope perspective too. I think that naturally nobody gonna want to think like that. They just me. You know what I'm saying? And then you never know. They feel like because somebody high up, they good. They making XYZ, so they good. Right. But that person has a family too. Exactly. They exposed to it just as much as you, most likely. So I definitely could see that. And then I think, like you said, it's a pandemic. So I know for a company I work for, that first year they just gave out money like it was crazy. Like whether it was to stay or I guess to make up for not paying hazard pay or whatever, it just was money you was getting, right? But I also feel like they too thought at some point it was going to stop. Mm-hmm. So the fact that it's not stopping, everybody like, okay, damn, well, we done tried to do this. Right. So now it's like you kind of drawing back, and business is still going. Like most companies are making more money in the pandemic than they ever made.
Definitely.
Mainly because of the thing we just talked about, people starting their own businesses. So you got landscaping, people doing this, doing that, and now they shop at a lot of stores that they probably didn't normally shop at. Right. So I definitely feel like you gotta look at both sides of it. For your role though, right? Like in your role, like you've been in it for 2-3 years now, something like that?
Yeah, 2.5.
2.5 is a long time.
2.75.
From when you first started to now, what's changed as far as your role? Like and with you in your role, like because obviously you're younger when you come in, so I always feel like you can grow with the company you're growing. So what change? How have you changed, and how have your role changed as well?
Me personally, I've met a lot of my individual goals with the company. So even just the way I looked at employees or employment opportunities has definitely changed just by being in the role that I'm currently in. Some of the things, like, I definitely can speak, like, on my past jobs, I was not the best associate to have.
Oh, I like that, man. Clap it up for it. I like that, man. What's up? Keep going.
Sometimes I feel like you grow. So, there were some companies that I gave my all to. And then there were times where I could say, well, gosh, I probably sucked as an associate. Like, what did my manager think about me? Honestly, because I'm like, darn, I could see myself doing some of the same things that I see, like, the people I work with now doing. I'm like, darn, that is me. Like, when I was in school, like, what
you do when you see yourself in an employee that where you work at now? Like, what do you do? Like, do you?
I honestly try to give them grace, because I know when I first started working in college, it was just something to make money. I wasn't thinking about, oh, well, this could be a career for me, or I could move up. A lot of time when people coming in, it's just a job.
Right.
So giving them grace, but also letting them know to never try to burn your bridges. Because although you may be working for that company now, I may be working for that company now. What if I go start my own company? And I say, oh, well, Jermaine, he was good. I know he had more than a master's on the side. And I could definitely see myself partnering up with him. And basically just seeing your characteristics and your traits. And maybe not always what you give to that company,
right,
or what you see, how you see yourself evolving in that company. But just basically being a great employee.
Nah, I definitely agree. As far as like not burning bridges, because you never know what somebody's gonna do outside of that.
Right.
Somebody can start something, they'll take you just based off something they seen you doing, not
right,
work, but just something they seen you doing at that place.
Exactly.
But then you can kind of burn a bridge by doing something at that place. They're like, nah, they did this to me back in the day.
Right. So and it's not always about, like I said, not always about moving up within that particular company. Sometimes it's just about, oh, well, I want to try this. I want to try being on time for a year. Or I want to try putting myself out there.
Oh, no, my throat. Nah,
next question.
I love you, Jason. Back then, we were talking about grace and grace periods and stuff like that. And the company I was working for at one time, they had this 5-minute grace period. I didn't know if he knew it. That's all. Just didn't know, because sometimes you call him, it's 45 minutes. Oh, I'm on the way, bro. It's no big deal. Okay,
crazy.
Don't take that.
Yes, I love you, Jace. It's all good, bro. But you brought up a good. I don't know if you got my notes, but one of the questions I wanted to ask was, for someone looking to further their career in a company, what do you suggest they do? Now, what I can say is, and I say this. Well, yeah, what time? Be good. All right. So I say this. You already reset it. Okay, cool. I say this. In the company I work for, I just advanced, and I told Juan, I told people this. Jace, I'm sorry, Juanito, whatever you call him, that's what we used to call him. I told people this. One of the main reasons was because of you. Like, you pushed for that, right? So, not for me, but like, how would you push for someone else, like, to further their career in that company? Or if you feel like they couldn't, like, how do you have them kind of conversation with somebody that wants to further their career in a company, but you may feel like they're not ready yet?
I think a lot of time it's basically about what that person wants. A lot of times, well, most of the time, a lot of people don't actually say it. Sometimes it's something that I see, and I'm like, wow, and then it'll like kind of intrigue me to go have a conversation with them. Like, what are your goals here? Are you looking to move up? And just by the things that they'll see, you'll see like an average associate versus someone who actually wants to go somewhere with the company. They're two totally different people. It's nothing that they'll say. It's basically all about the way they carry themselves, the way they pay attention to certain things, the way they pay attention to detail. And it's not even me. It's basically what they put out there,
right,
what they do to get themselves promoted. But having a difficult conversation with someone who wants to move up, basically just being honest. I think it starts with honesty, and like I said, grace. So, and that's very important in my role, because I think about the times where I've wanted to move up or I wanted to do something, and like I said, sometimes I wasn't the best associate to have. However, I never want to criticize that person or come across as someone who's trying to tell them something in a negative manner. So I think it's all about building that relationship and that rapport with that person and letting them know, like, hey, you do really good in this, and I could tell you want to move up, but maybe you can improve in X, Y, Z.
Okay.
And just giving some of that positive feedback versus holding on to it. There's so many people that will hold on to it, or because they're afraid of that person surpassing them or moving on to the next level. So they don't want it. They want to see you doing good, but never better than them.
Instagram.
Facts.
Yep, me favorite one.
She on one. What about somebody that you feel like they should move up, or they do? They're not the average associate. They stand out. They go above and beyond. But they maybe don't get the job the first time or something like that. Mm-hmm. Like how you had that conversation with them? Like they probably could be doing that position, but they're not doing it, and they want to, but the opportunity is just not there yet. So how do you have that kind of conversation with that employee?
I feel like this is my favorite part. I'm definitely an encourager.
Morale booster. That's you.
That is me.
100%.
Yeah, that is I. That is she. That is her. Okay. Anywho, yeah, I love to boost the morale. I love to encourage. I love to promote growth. If I see that there's something that you're working towards, I definitely want to be that person that's behind you, supporting you, telling you like, oh, because I feel like we've all been in situations where we thought we deserved it and possibly got overlooked. So sometimes a lot of the times you think that no one else sees it. So I definitely try to see it and go tell them like, hey, I see that this is what you're working towards. Don't give up. It just may not be the right time. So keep going hard, keep trying, stay motivated, and keep listening to me because, I'm the neighborhood encourager.
Neighborhood encourager.
Ooh, I just gave myself a title.
Neighborhood pusher.
Go get a little dirt to stamp that.
What I would say is, I do wish that the company we worked at, you had worked there earlier. Because one time I was trying to move up a while back to be a DS at one point or something like that, and I didn't get it the first like 2 times, and like I always felt like
Tell
that
the people
person.
What DS mean?
DS?
Yeah, they may not know.
A supervisor, a
Department
manager.
supervisor.
Yeah,
Thank you, Jace.
Guys, it's a department supervisor. And the guys in charge at the time, like I just felt like everything he was telling me was like BS. But in hindsight, it really wasn't. Like he really just trying to pick to get the best person for that position. And at the time, I just wasn't. And then when I got it, I still don't feel like I was the best, but I think I grew into being what I should have been. And so I agree with you on that. Like sometimes you think you're supposed to be somewhere because of what you know of a particular area, but it takes more than just that to run that position. So
right. And sometimes I think when you look at opportunities, you look at one aspect of it. Like, oh, I know I could do that. But maybe you were doing good in your career or, area, but it wouldn't, if you would have got promoted, it would have started slacking with more than a master's.
Right,
or you would have never pushed this as hard, or, your time with your kids, it just would not have, everything wouldn't have been set up the way it was supposed to align.
You said something about grace, and I think everybody needs grace, even if you like kind of just thinking on a particular position or a decision that was made or something like that. Because I also feel like if you want to go for, I'm just using letters. If you want to go for position M, it's management, something like that, right? But you just handling money. Let's say you just handling money, right? And you feel like you should do the management position because somebody that's in management don't know money. But that person ain't getting paid to no money. They getting paid to no management. You know what I'm saying? So like, just because you know one thing more than that person that got a broader, that person's job is way broader than just that. They don't need to know that. That's why they paying you to do that.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? But I think in real time, you be thinking like, I know more than you, so I should be doing that. But I don't know more than you. I just know more about this than you.
Right.
But this is a very small piece of this whole puzzle.
Exactly.
And I started thinking about that like as time went on. So that always changed my perspective on like who I think should grow or shouldn't, stuff like that. But when I was younger, I was me. I was like, it's dumb. This guy's dumb. Like,
right,
wow.
and I feel like a lot of times people don't have those type of conversations. I feel like everyone wants to say like, oh, well, no, when I got the position, when I applied, I got it. No one wants to tell the times when you got passed down or you were fired or, they just overlooked you for no reason and you felt like you were doing everything right. It's so imperative that we have those conversations, especially with one another, because you never know how that may encourage the next person.
Right.
And I think sometimes when you move up the ladder, it's so imperative that you help the next person move up with you, because so many times people move up and forget the times that they got turned down or the times that they needed encouragement or the times they needed a shoulder to cry on. So
I always say like every no ain't bad. Like some no's it make that yes better later on,
right?
So that's how I look at it.
And some no's aren't no's.
Explain
Some
that.
no's are just a not right now.
I got you. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Okay.
I like that.
It's a not right now. It's not really like a no.
Now you doing your thing. Hey, we're gonna start